you're going to test their performance improved. I think it's even more important, which is totally, totally unacceptable. Boom.
Hello, SmartBear community. Nowadays, everybody uses the internet from their desktop or mobile devices. Thus, it's very important to release applications that will work well and have the perfect responsiveness and stability under a high workload. Today we will talk with Michael Punsky, a well-known expert in performance testing with many years of expertise in this field. Michael will help us understand the importance of performance testing, when it is better to start doing it, and what improvements we can achieve. So let's start. Today I'm happy to welcome our speaker, Michael Punsky. Hey Mike.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great.
Thanks for joining us today, and you're connected from Miami, Florida, right?
A little bit north of Miami, about 40 miles, but close.
But the Sunshine State, I'm jealous. Tell us a bit about your background before we dive into the world of performance testing.
So my background is I was in the Air Force for 12 years. While I was in computer systems and communications. And then when I got out of the Air Force, I transitioned into doing the same job, but as a civilian. That was in 1994. So I've been working with computer systems for a very long time. And for a good portion of that time, probably since 1997 or 98. Also, I've been working with load testing software.
Oh, you a great background. So you started many years ago.
Mm-hmm. And everything has changed a lot in that time.
Oh, that will be interesting to learn today. In the SmartBear community, we have many users who are doing functional testing and API testing. So many of them are asking what performance testing is and why is it important nowadays?
Well, I think that people always say, what's the difference between performance testing and functional testing? And really, I think that there are a lot of similarities, but in addition, there are some slight differences. So in a functional test, you may have one process or one user that is stepping through and making sure that everything works the way the specification says it's supposed to work. If you type in these numbers and push this button, the result that you will get is this number.
Mm-hmm.
With performance testing, it's a little bit different. You say, what if 2,000 people enter numbers and push the button at the same time? Or what if they're all doing different things at the same time? So I think what happens a lot of the time is development teams think about their functional testing because they have to make sure that what they wrote works the way that it's supposed to. But sometimes it's an afterthought to think, okay, now what happens when a lot of people are in the application, working, doing different things? Is it still going to work? And is it going to return the results in a timely manner? Mm-hmm. So in that way, it's a little bit different. In another way, it's the same because in a functional test, you're making sure that you get the result you're looking for. And in performance testing, you have the same thing. Because a lot of times when you have a high number of people using the system, you're going to experience errors.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a problem with concurrency.
Uh-huh.
So a number above 300 or 400 doing the same thing at the same time, there's a chance that two processes will be doing the same exact thing at the exact same millisecond and cause a problem in the system. Or under a heavy load, things might start to break down, and then you'll just start getting server error 500s, which basically says, hey, you sent something for me to process, I don't know what it is, and I don't know what to do with it, boom. And then it throws back that error and says, I don't know what's wrong, but something's definitely wrong.
So nowadays we do everything fast, right? So the speed is very important. For example, if I open a web page, right, and if this page is being loaded for say 10 seconds, I'll simply close this page. I won't wait until this page is fully loaded. At the same time, a vendor of this page, they would like to avoid this situation. Is this something that the performance testing can help me with?
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I have a customer who shall remain nameless, and I've been doing some load testing for them for the last 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I first checked to see what the speed was on their site, just bringing up the home page took 12 seconds.
Wow.
With no load on the system, just one virtual user testing their system, and it was 12 seconds, which is totally unacceptable. So over the course of the last 2 weeks, we've run a number of tests. We found some actionable items that they could go back and remediate so that their performance improved. And then we tested again. So one thing to say about a performance testing strategy is that you're going to test, you're going to verify the results,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to give the developers, or it might even be another group, it might be your network people or somebody else in that chain, the ability to make some changes to improve things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to test again, get the results, and find out, whether you've improved, how much you've improved, and what is left to fix. So in the course of the last 2 weeks, they started at 12 seconds. That was on a Tuesday last week. We tested again on Thursday, and now they were down to 4 seconds because of the
That's much
changes
better.
that were made. And then we made some additional changes. They made additional changes yesterday. And when I tested them last night, we were averaging under 1 second per page with 400 users on their system at the same time.
So what was that was the issues related with the hardware of their server, or is it something what was developed bad?
Okay, none of it was hardware. So that's a good answer, because hardware sometimes can be an expensive fix.
Uh-huh.
It was software related and settings related.
Okay. And if we are talking about the amount of people just to test the load of the website, I know that for functional testing, for example, it is possible to create a dataset that each user, where the tests can use different data, for example, names, phone numbers, etc. Is it the same requirements for load testing? Creating this data set, and if it is there any specifics of the data generations for load testing?
No, it's the same. And I think it's even more important with performance testing to use different credentials for virtual users, because if you're using the same user, sometimes you'll have a conflict. There are applications that only allow a user, an individual, to be logged in one time simultaneously. If I log in from my PC here in my office, and then I go out and log in from another machine, then it's going to say that there's a security violation because you can only be logged in once. That's one type of reason. Another reason is, if you're using the same user and password, then you're going to be caching some things. The server will cache some things. The database will cache some things. And databases, if you're calling for the same things again and again and again, are going to keep that information right at the very top, available to give to you at a moment's notice. And it's not going to be doing the queries to bring things back. It's going to be handing you the same thing. So there's that reason. Additionally, you may want to have different types of users. So user 001 is an administrator. User 002 is a purchaser. 003 is somebody that just runs reports. And you're going to want to log in as each of those types of users, and you'll want to run them simultaneously so that you can see what happens. If somebody is running a report, and I've had this happen before too, you could be running 2,000 people on the site and they're all having a good time and everything's coming back and performing great. And then one guy runs a report and the entire system crawls to a halt because that report is making so many queries to the database. And chances are some of those queries have not been optimized. You need to re-index or use a different index. So there are many reasons, but yes, you do want to use different parameters in your test. User ID and password is one. Search terms might be another, just as an example.
Okay, I already love performance testing. It looks like it can resolve all my issues. For people who decide to move to performance testing, who decided to start doing it, what would your recommendations be on where to start? Just first steps they will need to pay attention to when we decide to do performance testing.
I think if somebody is doing performance testing for the first time, I would suggest doing a little bit of reading and finding out some of the knowledge that's out there in the load testing community about what you should test and how you should test it. Looking at some YouTube videos. There are YouTube videos that SmartBear has that tell you exactly how you should go about certain tests. I've even recorded some that are out there that talk about using Load Ninja and using the different features within it. But there's lots of information out there. Another thing you could do is for your first set of load testing, maybe call on an expert. Have an expert come in, let them run the load test and share what they did, how they did it, so that you can do it yourself going forward. I know when I go out and run a performance test for customers, I like to give them as much knowledge as possible so that if they do want to do that themselves, they can do it going forward.
Okay, thank you. That was very interesting. As an expert, just a short question. What future should we expect from performance testing?
I think the future is going to be very interesting in performance testing. I think AI is going to be something that is going to be used in a lot of load testing going forward. And there are different ways that AI can be used in performance testing. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens. One of the things that can be done is the AI could run the test, could see what results are coming back, and then modify the testing in such a way to get even better results from your system, and then be able to give you recommendations or a whole list of recommendations on ways that you can improve the performance of your site.
So that's interesting. Somehow analyze the results of performance testing, think of how to improve it. That's interesting.
Exactly.
Great. Thanks a lot. That was very interesting and useful. I knew a lot about performance testing. I'll try to do something with my community website. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the interview.
Okay. Thank you, Tatiana. Bye, everybody.
Bye.